Ready to order. This meeting will begin with a public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant or other representative wishing to speak must register and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator at this time. Following the hearing, we will conduct our monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided. Sorry, just speak up just a little bit. Or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decisions. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet on the table at the front of the room. Those of you wishing immediately knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning officer tomorrow morning. The procedure we'll follow for hearing each applicant is: after each applicant is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the committee. Then all correspondence will be read. Then other in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone, state their name, and direct their comments to the committee. Because of the number of applicants tonight, I am asking that all the testimony be kept brief and to the point. The applicant will have 5 minutes to present information on their application other than questions from the committee. Anyone else wishing to speak should limit their testimony to 3 minutes, and any rebuttal by the applicant will also be limited to 3 minutes. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recording will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial. Is that why I went to law school? No. Prejudicial, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by the administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustment. Information and applications are available from the zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. If you'll raise your hands: Carl, George, Pat, Jerry, Todd, administrator, and Cindy. My name is Mike Kapp. You can have that one back. Calling the meeting to order. And the first thing we have is a zone change on by Spencer Tim, Pine River, Wisconsin. He has made the application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138, 58-451, 58-721, 58-724, parentheses 12 of the Waushara County Zoning Code from AG, General Agriculture, to CS, Commercial Service, to expand the limits in existing mini storage facilities located directly north of the proposed parcel, with proposal construction of 350 by 100 mini storage units. The location is approximately 375 by 200 feet portion of a land directly to the south of an existing 375 by 200 CS zoned portion of land on an existing 10.24 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 5121 being part of the northwest quarter of the Northwest Quarter Section 16 T20N R12E, Town of Saxville, W4053, County Road TT. Can we adjourn now?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. You need to have them come up?
Yep.
No. Okay. Would the party please come to the microphone? Let us know what your name is.
Hi there, Spencer Tim. I'm owner-operator of Long Lake Storage. I reside right next door to it, just to the east. I'm sorry, I had a head cold all week. I'm approaching everyone on, and including my neighbors, on a proposed zone change to double the area of the storage units that I now own and operate in the town of Saxville. As you probably viewed it yesterday, I was not around to go over things with you, but as you viewed it yesterday, it's a pretty modern facility. I try and keep things nice and clean around it. What's happened in the last few years is business has expanded. It's been a very beneficial thing for the township with the lakes and people moving from the valley into the area. It's become a real hub for people moving to the area to store their things and transition to a different location, and it's also become very beneficial to the lakes around it. They don't have the area on a lot of lake lots to put up an expansion area for an additional outbuilding. So many of my tenants have been there for several years since I started construction in 2012 and have not left. It's worked out real well for the neighbors around me. Everybody's appreciated it, and actually several of my adjoining landowners have rented units from me already. So I feel that there hasn't been any opposition up to this point. I've never been broken into. We haven't had any safety issues. I did have some storm damage that probably everybody saw and laughed at, but that was beyond my control. But it's back up and running correctly and cleanly again. So I'm just looking to have some room for expansion to kind of duplicate what I got going on already as business allows or demand for self-storage increases. Kind of the same thing, but more.
The committee have any questions?
A couple of questions. So the plan is just to build 3 identical units sort of right behind the existing units, correct?
I believe that they're going to very much mirror the identical buildings that are there now in size and shape. The next expansion area that you probably saw yesterday that I started filling, I do excavating work for a living, so when I come across clean fill, I started filling that area behind there because it would be beneficial for me eventually, and it also keeps the cost down for my customers. So to answer your question, I think that they're probably all going to mimic each other in what's been put up already, but I'm not sure. I do have some call for maybe a couple higher units in back for such as campers or that type of thing, but it wouldn't be a large building. It'd be just a couple bays more or less for some motorhomes or camper type units.
I see that on here now. So I was just sort of looking at the hand drawing.
Yeah.
I see the high base.
That's very crude, but that was just something that would give you an idea on what's going on.
And who do you have slated for construction?
I think I would probably use the same contractor to put up the building that was storm damaged, and that's Dan Nemeth. He's in the town of Bloomfield, a Sheriff County resident most of his life. Really did a super job for me. Did a real good job all the way through the bat. It's a commercial building, so everything has to be to a T, and it's very well inspected, and I was very happy with it.
And then just one more question.
Yep.
I looked while we were driving around, and I didn't see any security lighting. Is that something that, is there, did I miss it?
No.
Okay. Is that something that you may be planning to put out there, or?
The security lighting is, I realize the need for security lighting. being I live next door and the close proximity of my neighbors to the southwest, my original intentions were that I wouldn't put security lighting there because I didn't want light pollution to bother my neighbors or anything on that order. I kind of left it open-ended that if there was an issue with theft or anything like that, that I would explore it someday. I haven't done it because I've never had a theft there. When my tenants usually come there, being I live next door, I am the security system. So I kind of say, you know, if you guys could come here in the daylight, I'd appreciate it a lot more because I kind of like to know what's going on and I like to be the security guard there. They're welcome to come there 24/7. If there's an emergency, I get it. But I really have not had too many people come there after dark. The only real people that come in there after dark is if a Sheriff County Sheriff likes to park there and watch the cars go by. So I don't have an issue with security lighting. I just haven't deemed it necessary at this point. If there was an ongoing theft problem, I would explore that, but I feel that my neighbors would be more appreciative of not having lighting. But I'm open to all suggestions.
Question. The property adjacent to you towards that would be to the south, the open farm ag area.
Okay.
Is that going to be something that you might be looking at in the future?
I think if you viewed it yesterday, the area that I'm started to fill back there,
Right.
the grade goes up very rapidly.
Right.
In order to do anything farther back there would be kind of a large earth-moving extravaganza to do it. So I don't feel that I would ever go any farther. I should have probably done it the first time where I would have room for the 6 buildings, but I had no idea that I would get to the point that I'm at this point in time. I don't feel that I'd ever expand any farther to the south. I would probably look for a completely different location if I felt there was a need for it. I really don't feel that there's going to be a need for more than 6 buildings in the area. That's
Okay. Well, I certainly appreciate your interest in what you're doing and how you're going about it, and I'm always open for entrepreneurship. Yeah,
Thank you.
That's great. I'm glad to hear. All my questions have been answered.
I have one question. The place where you planted the trees over there, that driveway, is that driveway yours going into there, or is that the neighbor's?
That is the neighbor's driveway, and the way that lot line works there, it's kind of a strange lot line. I own almost up to the gravel edge of their driveway. So the pine plantings that are there serve for 2 purposes. It gives them privacy, and it also gives me privacy and my tenants privacy. A lot of people, when they're in self-storage, don't want people to be able to see what they're putting away. Collector cars, you know, nice home furnishings, that type of thing. So as those trees grow up, and they're great neighbors, it'll never be an issue with theft or anything like that from them, obviously. But so that lot line's very much close to them, and that's why I put the planting there, trying to create privacy for them. And it's costing me a little bit of area, but I'm okay with that. So.
And the reason I was asking, because it looks to me like the trees are close enough to the driveway that once they get big, they're going to be hanging out over the driveway.
That's where they wanted them.
Okay.
I footed the bill for it. I said, whatever you guys want, we'll go get it, and we'll put them wherever you'd like. And they were he actually works for Sierra Meyer, which is a commercial construction company out of Oshkosh. So he's very well versed in lot lines and how things work. And I created that berm there to keep all the water, not wastewater, but any stormwater that would be coming off from my property to stay there. And we worked together closely on that, and that's kind of where he kind of wanted the berm, and that was what they wanted for plantings, and I plan on extending that berm also and creating more plantings farther on down. But that's where their driveway ended up, and
Okay.
that's where they wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand. I knew that was going to be a question. It looks very deceiving there. So.
Any other questions?
I just was curious about there appeared to be a body of water back there behind those buildings. Is that going to be covered, or is it just a...
My biggest fear is having a water problem with the neighbors. I do not want to flood my neighbors out or their driveway. There was a natural depression back there before I ever started, and that's where all the stormwater runs down off from that property. I've never had it cross that driveway. I increased the depth of that, and I'm not an engineer, I understand that, but I do excavating work for a living. I feel I know what's going on a little bit. I increased the depth of that, and I also brought the grade up on the berm to create kind of like a holding pond there or a retention pond for that stormwater. If there is an issue, I can either remove more fill out of there to create a deeper basin back there, or if it's staying the way it is and we're not having an issue of flooding the neighbors out, that's how it's going to stay. I don't want to create a water problem, because the next place it's got to be forced to is the neighbors. I can't make it go uphill.
Any other questions? Is there any correspondence?
Well, speaking of the neighbors, we did receive a letter dated January 14th from Charles Cass and Mary Ann Cass. It says, "To whom it may concern, Mary Ann and I are immediate neighbors to Mr. Spencer Tim. Mr. Tim has applied for a variance in the form of rezoning his property from agricultural acreage to commercial acreage. This commercial venture is not a new one for Mr. Tim, nor is it new exposure to the Cass family for the utilization of his property as a storage facility. Records will show that Mr. Tim has successfully embarked on this venture for the past several years, and from our observation, this has been a positive experience for our area. We feel that the expansion of additional storage buildings to the south would not negatively impact this area in any way. The area that Mr. Tim speaks of is always maintained to the highest degree. The utilization of the storage area does not incur any disruption to the rural environment that surrounds the area, and with this thought in mind, Mary Ann and I support his efforts with no reservation. If there's anything that we can add to our comments, by all means, contact us via telephone so that we can discuss this. We are hoping to add support to Mr. Tim's potential venture. Sincerely, Charles and Mary Ann Cass." And that's the only letter I have.
And I didn't see anybody come running up here with
No.
slips, so it doesn't appear that there's anybody to speak in favor or against. And does the staff have any reports or comments?
Sure. I trust everyone has a copy of the final rendition of the staff report. As indicated in the report, the applicant, Spencer Tim, is requesting a zone change from AG, General Agricultural, to CS, Commercial Service, to conditionally establish an expansion of an existing mini storage facility with proposed construction of 3 additional 50 by 100 foot mini storage units on a 200 by 375 foot parcel of land located immediately south of the Long Lake Storage Facility in the town of Saxville. In terms of project history, in April of 2012, the county approved a zone change for a very similar development, literally just to the north, which we saw. And that was for a 200 by 375 foot parcel of land located immediately south of County Road 22 and immediately north and adjacent to the proposed development. The zone change was also conditionally established a 50 by 100 foot, 20 unit mini storage facility with area for future expansion. The applicant has since received a total of 3 land use permits over the past several years for construction of 3 buildings on the site, housing, I believe, a total of 56 mini storage units?
Correct.
Okay. This proposal would basically mirror image what's existing, expanding the operation southward to include a total of 6 buildings on the site. The committee visited the property at the recent on-site on Wednesday, January 16th, and believed that the zone change was appropriate at this location and made for a logical expansion of an existing mini storage operation. The committee's only comments was that all applicable permits, including land use permits, be obtained. Now, as you're aware, a zone change is a permanent change to the property, and that by changing the zone, you are likely changing not only the minimum lot size, but also what may be permitted on the property. Because of the permanent change, the review standards are quite high. The application will ultimately be reviewed for the zone change by 3 bodies. The first step tonight being a public hearing before Planning and Zoning. This will then go on to the County Board of Supervisors, and from there it will ultimately go on to the Town Board. In order to change the zoning on the property, the application must be approved at all 3 levels. The applicant does cite the fact that the proposal is based upon an ever-increasing demand for self-storage units in the area. Many are used by residents in transition, moving not only to the area, but also Bay Area Lake residents seeking additional storage due to constraints on their individual properties. Staff has reviewed this request and believes that the zone change and expansion to be a logical one, and that it is a service-oriented business designed to meet the needs of the neighboring population. Storage units have also proven over time to be an unobtrusive neighbor. While the Planning and Zoning Committee will be making a formal recommendation on this tonight, or a formal decision on this application later on tonight, staff is recommending approval of the zone change from AG General Agricultural to CS Commercial Service for the expansion of an existing mini storage facility, subject to the conditions listed in your report that you have before you.
Is there anything more the applicant would like to add or comment on?
The only thing I'd have to think back on, the body of water we spoke about, you couldn't have got a worse time to look at it, with frost in the ground, and then we had a rain event last week. That body of water is not there ever, except for when the ground's frozen. I wanted to clarify that. It's just about the worst scenario you could get with all the freezing rain and the snow melt. During the summertime, it's bone dry there. It's just wintertime, yeah, I'll get an ice pocket back there, but it's stormwater runoff coming off the hill. So that's all I wanted to clarify. I started thinking about it. So
When you get them in there and built in, you're expecting all the water and all that to go out to the offside of them, not underneath it?
no. The grade is very close to where it needs to be now on the expansion area, the area that's filled. And that when I shot it with old transit, I think I had 9.2, 9.4 feet. There's a lot of area there, so it shouldn't be an issue with the buildings at all. I'm more worried about my neighbor than anything, but we'll work through that. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Down.